Don't be trapped thinking this is the top for the S&P 500. I'm going to show you why there could be another high for the S&P 500. When you see the Dow Jones Industrial made a shooting star all-time high and faded all day on Friday and closed with a new closing high, you might think this is the top for the market. And also looking at the New York Stock Exchange Composite, you also see there's a shooting star doji, and it didn't even close with a new closing high, although it did make a new intraday high. And all those price action will have you thinking this could be the top for the S&P 500. But here's why that there could be another new high for the S&P 500. Looking at this intraday chart of the ES, the E-mini S&P 500, notice on Thursday, it put in a new all-time high right before the RTH or the regular trading hour opened, that regular trading hour session opened. So in the past, this pre-market or overnight all-time high has been very predictive to tell us that we will see another new high during the RTH session in order to validate this all-time high from the pre-market. So you can see on Thursday, it did not come up to tag this all-time high, neither did Friday. So what we're going to be looking out for in the future is for the E-mini S&P 500 during the regular trading hour session to come up and take out this 5830. And during that time, we'll likely see the S&P 500 will also come up and put in a new all-time high. And the other thing that is telling us that we'll likely see the S&P 500 to come up to make a new all-time high is the cumulative AD line from the New York Stock Exchange. Notice that on Friday, it closed with an all-time high, and it closed up while the S&P 500 closed down. So we are seeing a positive divergence between the AD line and the S&P 500. So we need to get that resolved, and the way to resolve this positive divergence is for the S&P 500 to come up and take out the previous high. So when that occurs, we will most likely see another new all-time high from the S&P 500. As long as those two things that we're seeing, the overnight high from the E-mini S&P 500 and a positive divergence between the AD line and the S&P 500, until those things get resolved, we will still be on the watch for a new high from the S&P 500. Now you know the reason why we are still looking for the possibility the S&P 500 will make another new high. So let's go and take a look at the price action and see where that new high might be. So let's start off with this ES, the E-mini S&P 500. Remember, we're talking about this Globex all-time high. Now here are the some of the level that I have here. So let me call them out so you can write it down or be aware of what they are when I talk about them. Here is the upper range for the weekly expected move. And these numbers calculated based on option prices. And the upper range is between 58.85 and 58.76.50. And here's the lower range for the weekly expected move. And that is between 56.95 and 56.55. Now, in addition to that, I have also put in the monthly, not September, but October monthly expected move. And the upper range for October is between 59.80 and 59.65.75. And the lower range is between 56.05.75 and 54.90. So as you can see right now, we're basically looking at this possibility of the price breaking out of this balance area here. See, this balance area have a concentrated volume in this price range. So we are looking for the price to, break from balance into imbalance, and this imbalance could be on the upside or it could be on the downside. So if it is going to break on the upside, there are a couple levels to keep an eye on. One is the range expansion of this balance area, and this is 100% expansion. In other words, 1x of this range, and this is 2x. Okay, so first is that 1x, and that will be somewhere around 58.68. And that is also in confluence with the upper range of the weekly expected move. So we could see this come up, pick out this Globex all-time high, and validate that, and then pushes up to this 58.68 level. Okay, that could be one of the target level for this move. Let's say it come back down and it break down on this imbalance, then the next obvious area of balance is down here in this concentrated area, and that range between 57.2825 and 56.59.25. So we could see it, the price come into this balance, and here is the point of control of this volume profile here. I basically set up a composite volume profile between from the price here to the present. Okay, so this is the profile for these price action. So right now we are looking at the price. If it come down in balance down here, get into this balance area, this is the most accepted price level here, somewhere around 56.95. This is the price level with the most traded volume within this price range. Okay, so so that means this price here is the most acceptable between buyer and seller. So the thing is, we could see it come down here and chop around before it could possibly push back up, or it will continue to come down and maybe come down and test this trend line that a lot of the traders that are watching for trend line support, and then we get a bounce back up and push into a new all-time high. If that is the case, then we'll pull back before we push to another new high. So those are some of the levels to keep an eye on. On the upside is basically take out this all-time high, the Globex all-time high, which is 58.30, and then the 1x extension 58.68. Then on the downside, we're going to be watching this level here, to come down to this 57.28, and then down here at the lower range, somewhere around 56.95, and then possibly this right here, which is in confluence with the trend line here near the 56.59 and a quarter. Now let's take a look at the SPY, similar type of a price action scenario that we will be watching for. Here is this balance area here. Now here is the upper range. That is between, for next week, the upper range for the weekly expected move is between 581.30 and 580.40. The lower range is between 562.60 and 559. So here's the October upper range is between 592.75, 590.30, and the lower range is between 552.60 and 544. So for the coming week, we're going to be watching the price again to see would it be able to push out of this balance and get into imbalance and come up to this 577.42. This is the 1x extension of this this balance area. Okay, and you see that the 2x, that 582.09 is in confluence with the upper range of the weekly expected move. So there's a possibility that it could come up to this 582 if it decides to move up and test this upper range of the expected move for the coming week on the SPY. Now, if it comes down, we're basically looking for this to break below this 568 and come into the next balance area starting at this 563.57. And notice that once you come in, you see the lower range of the weekly expected move is sitting right in the middle of this balance area. These are the very high concentrated, high volume area here. That means these prices over here is widely accepted between the buyer and seller. So we're going to be watching the price to come down into this balance area and see would it get another push back up. Okay, again, we're basically looking at this line here, and it could come down to this level somewhere around 557.33, which would be in confluence with this lower range and also this trend line. So just to recap for the coming week, the level to keep an eye on for the SPY is to come up to this 577.42 after taking out this high here. Okay, then if it continue to push higher, then look for this upper range between 581 and 580. On the downside, look for this 568 to break down, and if the price goes below that 568, then look for this 563.57 and the lower range between 562 and 559. Now let's see what the NASDAQ market is doing. First, let's take a look at the NQ, the E-mini NASDAQ 100 futures. Okay, slightly different profile here because we are talking about from the all-time high down to the present price level here. Remember the S&P 500 or the SPY is already took out the previous high. So right now the NASDAQ 100 is a little bit lagging behind the S&P 500. But again, we're basically looking for the price to see would it be able to get above this 20,385 and into this balance area here. And we're saying that if we could get up into this balance area and get up to 20,661, then we'd be looking at the possibility of the all-time high back in play. Now, if it doesn't, let's say it did continue to come down, then we're basically looking at these, these high volume area, these distribution. Okay, we basically got three distribution here. In between is this, what we call volume dent or a little bit of a low volume area. So we're basically looking for those things to see would it be able to support, provide support and push the price back up. If it doesn't, then we're essentially looking for the price to continue to move down into this area here. So you can see I have marked these level, okay, and the 19,941 is the first indent, and the next one is the 19,532, and the last one is 19,068. Okay, so those are the downside level to keep an eye on. The upside level, key level to break is 20,385. Then we'll be looking at 20,661. Now let's take a look at the Q. The Q here, let me identify these levels that I got here. See, right here, the upper range for the weekly expected move is between 498 and 496.80. And the lower range is between 476.70 and 473. Then the October upper range is between 511 and 506.30, and the lower range is 567.20 and 560. So those are the monthly and weekly range. Now here are the thing, what we want to see is to see what the price beta will come up to this balance area here. If it could come up to this balance area, then the upper range is going to be in play. And if we are able to break through this balance area and move into imbalance, in other words, get above this 499.86, then we could be looking at the possibility of an all-time high. And also the level that we were watching would be this 1x extension of this balance area somewhere near the 507.62, which is also in confluence with the October upper range. So that is the upside scenario. Now for the downside is that it come down to this high volume node here. Notice that we have three distribution, okay? On the downside, we have three high volume node. One is at 482.83, the next one is at 475.50, and the last one is at 461.72. So we expect the price to come down to see would it be able to find support at these high volume node. If it doesn't, then it come down to these low volume node or these volume dent, and then see would it get a bounce back up. If it doesn't, then we basically look for a continuation for the downside to the next high volume node, and then the low volume node, and you get the idea, right? You go from high to low, okay? So basically that's what we'll be looking for, and we want to see would it be able to hold support somewhere around 478, and that would come down to near the weekly lower range of the weekly expected move. And also in addition, it will basically come down in confluence with this trend line here. So let's say it move down here and it start chopping around here at this high volume node near 475.50, then basically it came down to this trend line here, then we might see a little bit of a bounce and start making its way back up. Now, will the NASDAQ 100 make an all-time high? That is a different discussion, because right now we know the technology sector is a little bit lagging behind the overall market. The S&P 500 are more of the value and defensive stock. So right now we are more focusing on the S&P 500 or the Dow Jones Industrial making new all-time high. than the NASDAQ. Now, maybe the NASDAQ will join the Dow Jones and also the S&P 500 in the next all-time high. Then that would be a different assessment. But until then, we're basically going to be watching these price action and be aware that the S&P 500 had a high probability that we could see a new all-time high from the S&P 500 before the market tells us it's been topped. Be sure to smash the thumbs up to help me promote this video on YouTube. And if you are new to this channel, click on the subscribe to support this channel. Thank you for watching and good luck on your trading.